Hello guys, and welcome to the last video of this video series. So in this video, basically we're just gonna do a quick and a demo of how we would be able to add sign-in capability to our application. So far we have one table, users table, with the following columns. And then basically these values that we see over here, they come from the form that the user actually, so I think it's the sign up page, that the user actually would just put some information, and then we're just going to take these data and then post them into our uh, table. So now for this example, what we're going to do is we're going to add one more column to our table, and then this column label is going to be password, and then we're going to also add one more text field to our form here for the password. So we're going to take it, store it in our table, and then for the sign in, we're just going to do the checking to make sure that the user provided valid information for the sign in. So let's do that. So for the users table, I will go to structure on phpMyAdmin, and basically what I will do is down here add one column after phone. It really doesn't matter where you want to add it as long as you add it. And then we're just actually going to call this password. So the password is typically a varchar. You can say this has a maximum of 10 characters, and then just save that. So now if you go to the users table, you will see we have one new column here. And because we just added this one for the existing rows, basically there is no value under column. That's fine. So for now, because we added this into our table, what we need to do is we need to change our form and then add a password. So for the sign up page, we're just gonna copy this one and basically add like a password and then input type text, give it a name like a password. So now when you refresh, we just have this one, and then people will just put in their password as they sign up. And then basically this form goes into confirm.php, so we need to actually um, capture the password, store it in our database. So now down here, basically you will see password, and then it's just going to be post. The name is just password. So now we store it in this variable. We need to actually now store this value in our table. Now, one quick note is, you know how much I stress the fact that you need to comment your code, because I wrote this code a few days ago, and now when I'm looking at it, it's not really clear. So the comments really help. Because remember, you're not going to write your code and not come back to it. You're going to always come back to it, make it changes without really commenting. It's just hard to know what's going on. So just by reading the comments here, basically, it seems like the changes we need to make is going to be here. So put SQL code in a variable, and essentially, basically, the SQL variable is just gonna go in here. So name, email, phone, password, and remember this password here is actually, yes, it's this password. And then the value is actually gonna be, so escape password and escape, and I think that should do it. So let's go ahead and go to the form, put some information. So admin at admin.com, some phone number, password. Actually, let's change it to type equal, instead of text, password, because we want some kind of uh, like changes to it rather than just being really visible. So some security level added to it. So admin. yeah, let's just put admin, submit. So we're not getting an error, that's good. Let's just save. And I'm not seeing the password added. Yeah, so it's probably it was in the database. I think I didn't really look into the error. So the address is used. Yeah, let's actually go ahead and admin2 at admin.com, some phone number, and then password. Let's just save now. And the email record inserted successfully. Let's just refresh, and there you go. Now it's added. Okay, so that's good. Now what we want to do is we're gonna create a couple different files. One is called sign in. The other one is gonna be sign in confirm. So basically, when in the sign in form, people would just fill in their email, password. Sign in confirm is gonna check for the email if it exists or not, and then if it exists, does the password match, things like that. So we're going to allow the sign in. So a lot of the code is just going to be really similar to the code we have already written, so it's not going to be a lot of changes. So I will go here and then add those two files. So one is signin.php, and then the other one is going to be sign-in-confirm.php. So sign in is just going to be really very basic form. So form method is going to be post. Remember, this is for security. You know, we need the post. And then action is going to be sign in confirm.php. And notice this is just going to be plain HTML, which is fine. So we don't need the PHP tags here. So it's just going to be really very similar to what we have already done before. So people would put their email, so input type equal text, name equal email, and close the paragraph. And then also the password is just going to be input type equal password, name equal password. Close the paragraph. Now let's have a BR tag, or actually just have input type equal submit, and then input type equal reset. So now if I go into sign in, so there you go. So now when we submit, we go sign in confirm, which we have not implemented yet, but we're just gonna do that right now. So now in sign in confirm, this is gonna be, you know, some PHP code, so we need the PHP headers. So now the idea here is as the people click submit, the first thing we're gonna do is we're gonna check, before anything else, we're gonna check if the email address they provided exists in our table. Okay, so let's do that. So because we're gonna contact the database, remember we need to include the DB file, and that's why, you know, it's really good to modularize your program. So like you have different files, each file is responsible for doing something on its own. So we include the database file. Once we include the database file, we want to actually now, you know, let's actually store email from, because it's actually posting from the previous page. Post email, I think we used email. And then the same thing for password. So we need to get that. So post password. So now we need to check if email exists in DB. So how do we do that? We're going to have SQL variable. So that's going to be select. You can do a lot of copy and paste, by the way, but I'm just going to actually type that up here. So select the star from users where email equals to, in this case, it's just going to be this email. So let me skip this here. Email append. Okay. And one thing I like to do sometimes, like if you get, I'll show you that in just a second, but uh, sometimes like when people do a lot of like code where you would have to append and get different variables added together, your query might not really work very well. And I think I showed you in the previous video, always echo that. So like if you do echo SQL, you will get an idea of pretty much what you have. So in this case, select the star from users where email. I didn't really post anything, so that's why it looks like that. But you get the point. So now in order to run the query, we need to call the function MySQLi query. It takes the connection variable, and if you recall from DB, we called it con. And then we need to give it the SQL. So this SQL, because we're selecting, it returns something. So let's put that in a variable called result, which is going to be an associative array. So now, because we're going to check if the email exists, what if this result has no rows? If it has no rows, it means this email does not exist. There must be exactly one, because remember, we did it last time where we enforced that there should be exactly one unique email address stored in the table. So in order to do the check, we're going to say, well, if num, I think it's MySQLi, num rows of result is equal to 0, again, this means that there is no such email address. Okay, so we're just actually going to echo this email address is not in our database. Close the paragraph. Else, so this else is going to mean that email exists. So if the email exists now, what we're going to do is we're going to check if the password they provided matches this password. Okay, so now in that case, well, let's just first of all echo some paragraph. I mean, if you want to test this out step by step. So if I go back, put some email address, add some email address, put some password, and then this email address is not in our database, which is good. Now, if I put some kind of like admin@admin.com, which I know it is there, yeah, I got this one, and that's what I specified. So it means so far my code is working. That's good. So always make sure you just test your code as you write it step by step. So now if the email exists, again, I need to check if the password, this password matches the password in the database. So now so this result that is returned from this query is actually this result, right? So I stored it in a variable called result. So now this is actually an associative array. So now what we're going to do is going to be something really similar to what we did with the users. So we need to fetch the array result. In this case, it will have exactly one row, but we're going to store it in a variable called row. And then we're going to retrieve the row of password and then compare that with the value of our password variable. If they match, it means the password matches what is stored in our database. Otherwise, we're just going to tell them, please enter a valid password. So now, basically, let me just copy the code since I'm already here. And then so let's actually do the check. So if the password is equal row of password, so it means it is actually correct password. We're just gonna actually echo something like password correct password you're in. Else we're just gonna echo wrong password. So let's go ahead and test that. So the email is admin@2 and then the password is just admin. So that's the password, and then the password is, let's just type in the wrong password, so I'm entering like series of numbers. Undefined index, okay, so that's good. Line 21, password. So let's go back, refresh, put some password. Okay, wrong password, that's good. And let me just use the same one. Password is admin. Correct password, you're in. So that's really good. So now I'm just gonna add a couple things like so as they are already signed in, let's actually give them the ability, for instance, to see like registered users. And then otherwise, wrong password, we're just gonna actually redirect them to the sign in page again. So I can actually take the code, this one, go to sign in confirm. So wrong password, then let's just bring this to a new paragraph. So sign in page, and then I'm just going to take this one and then allow them to see the user since they are already logged in. So users page. So continue users page. You can see the users, and then over here, you obviously can change the link. And then if I just try to sign in with some wrong information, wrong password, I take them back to the sign-in page. Okay. If this was a web programming class, I'm going to talk about sessions, because now this is not really secure. Like anybody could go to users page. They don't have to be registered. But for a database, we already did some addition, deletion on the tables, and that's the focus. It's not the web programming aspect of this. So I think that should be fine. Last thing is this project, I will just post it on GitHub. I'll post the link in the description box under the video so you guys can refer to it. Remember, this will only contain the code. It wouldn't have the backend database side, but I'm just going to post it just in case. Okay. So again, this is going to be the last video, and then you're just going to take the rest of the time to just get your projects completed. Have a good one, guys, and hopefully everything is just fine. Bye-bye.